Hello, I'm going to show you the method that I have been using for several years now to whiten the teeth and even the whites of the eyes. I've been using, of course, Photoshop. I've been a Photoshop user ever since version 1.0 Photoshop, and I worked on a multinational advertising agency for several years, and I was doing photo compositing and color adjustment, color calibration, and of course, one of the things that I had to do often with faces was to whiten the teeth. So the method that I use in Affinity Photo, not that I'm trying to force myself to use Affinity Photo more and more, is the same that I used in Photoshop. Most of the methods that I developed over these years in Photoshop can be translated directly to Affinity Photo. Oh, please bear with me because I'm not English, I'm not American, I'm not even from an Anglo-Saxonic speaking country. I'm from Portugal, so bear with my terrible accent, okay? So here we go. Here we have some teeth with, well, a slight yellow cast. The first thing that I need to see is how much cast it has. So I'm going to place a color sampler around here and another one around here. Why two? Because, well, one is at a neutral spot. Here, let me just switch tools. This was distracting. This is a neutral place. No highlights, no shadows, even though these teeth on the edges are more in shadow because they are closer to the inside of the mouth. And here I have an highlight. I don't want to blow out the highlights. I always have to have some color in there, even a very low value, but I can't have bright white. Well, at least for when I'm trying to create images for press, when they are going to be printed, I don't. I should not have bright white or 0000 in CMYK, unless it's well, it's an highlight from the sun. Usually, those only happen on these places in bright sunlight. So I have an RGB image. Luckily, Affinity Photo allows me to calibrate or using adjustment layers to adjust an RGB image, but adjust using CMYK values. I'm more used to use CMYK values because most of the images that I have to process are to be printed. So let me just change this to CMYK and CMYK. So there's an evident color cast in the yellow channel. So 22 of yellow, 5, 6 of cyan and magenta, 3% of cyan, no magenta, and 15% yellow. A lower value because it's an highlight, of course. Let me just change this even lower, 11%, around half of this. But even so, a yellow cast. So what must I do? So I'm going to just use curves. I like to use curves because the adjustments are smoother, and the remapping it's also smoother than using levels, because using levels it will redistribute in a linear way. Well, at least in Photoshop it's like that. So I changed to CMYK, and now of course I have to adjust the yellow. I just lower the yellow value. It's more even now, and it's not zero. I'm just going to raise it a little more so it's more even now. Of course, this changed the values of the yellow in the whole image. I don't want that, I just want to use it on the teeth. So what do I do now? Well, first, if this was a multi-layer composite, I just want to affect this one. I'm just going to change this to teeth. And now I'm going to invert from white to black, and in fact I'm just turning off everything that I just did. Now these samplers are distracting, so I'm just going to switch them off. Okay, so I just inverted the channel, so I just turned off the values that I just had using the curves, but now using a brush, and I want to use a medium size brush, and of course a very soft brush, and this is very, very important. I want to adjust the flow, not randomly, but with the pressure. I'm using a Wacom, and I want to make it smoother. I want to make it more precise, so I just change to and I even going to adjust this curve to make it shallower at the beginning. Okay, so now I just switch to white, and I'm going to paint white here and here and here. Okay, I've painted all the teeth white in the channel, in my channel, except this one. This is in shadow, and usually what I do after painting all the teeth with white to make them all be affected by the curves that I adjusted, I just increase the brush a little bit more, make sure it's really, really, really soft, and then switch back to black and paint back a bit of the original color to give it depth. Instead of being a flat layer of color, I just get back to what it was before here. So what I did was this. Here it is. Let me just switch back to white, make sure that all the teeth are white. Yeah, nice. Okay, what I noticed now is that there is a slight cast of magenta on some of the teeth, so I just go back to the curve, now magenta, and lower a little bit. Okay, it's gone, but now the effect is too drastic. The teeth are quite white. So one good thing with this method is that I can just select the adjustment layer and lower the opacity. Of course, if I just lower it to 0, I just turned it off, but I can leave it at 75, a little bit less, 70, so it's subtler. They are now more white, but not flat white. This method can also be used to whiten the eyes. I'm going to use the same adjustment layer because, well, I noticed that the eyes also have a yellow cast. If the color cast of the eyes was different from the teeth, of course I would use an additional adjustment layer. So now, just move this. I'm going to make sure that my brush is a little bit smaller, so I have more control. And now I'm painting white, and I'm painting white. As you can see, it's completely white, but now I flatten the eye, and the eye is a sphere. So again, switch back to black, increase the size of my brush, and paint back a little bit of the original to give it more depth. What I did was this. Okay, here it is, before and after. Subtle whitening of the teeth, very controllable because you are painting only on the places that you want. You can still adjust the color, the casts, and you can even adjust how much the effect is applied by adjusting the opacity. Let me know what you think of this method. This is the one that I have been using in Photoshop for many years, and it has always worked. So let me know what you think, okay? Bye.